Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I'm your host, Leah. I recently had a conversation with my mom, and I, it really, thank God for the elders out there. Let me just say this. I love having a generation of people that I can trust and depend on because of their experience. I had a conversation with my mother a little while ago, a couple days. No, I think it was yesterday, whatever it was. But I had a conversation with her about um, an opportunity that came up at work, and I was very excited about it. Very excited. It essentially is an opportunity to do a seminar on one of the communication courses that I wrote, and I don't know if it's just because I get to do what I like to do or if it's a different audience or what it is, but there's just a lot of emotions and excitement that is wrapped up in this. And one of the things that my mom asked was, "What's it about? When is the seminar going to happen? When do you do the pitch? Things like that." And then she said, "Well, how much did you charge?" And at first I was like, well, actually, but I told her some, arbitrary number, and she's like, and then I said, well, and if you don't have enough, she's like, whoa, let me stop you there, because what I was going to say, and she already knew me, because of course my mom knows me. What I was going to say was, I charged what I charged for the event, but if they couldn't make it work, then I will work with them. And what she said in response was, I need you to hear me. Answer this question. Did you take full responsibility, or I'm going to butcher it. I really am. I'm going to butcher it. But she said, were there any discounts afforded to you in your experience that you gained in the knowledge that you have, especially when you were working on these courses or when you were working on these materials, things like that? Were you afforded any discounts? Charge your rate. And there were a lot of things that were going through my mind. One of them was just, yes, absolutely, charge your rate. And the second thing was, but I'm still new. And then there was another thing in there about whether or not I'm actually worth the rate, or they were able to afford the rate, or whatever the case. There were so many other things, and essentially, I walked away from the conversation understanding that that was really not much of my business, whether they were able to afford it or not. They saw that I had a product or service that they wanted, and my rate is the rate. And cheapening myself does not make it better for anyone. That happened. There was a situation that happened previously at another company I worked at where I did um, all this work for them and probably saved them tens of thousands of dollars, and in consultation fees, building out LMS systems, things like that. And it was a very sobering thing. As excited as I am about this project, as excited as I am about this pitch, I am reminded and kind of sobered and thought of just, you know how to do what you do, and you do it very well. And because I know how to do what I do and I do it very well, it's important for me to act like it. Whether I've been in the game for 3 years or 30 years, act like it. Charge my rate. There are times when I think it's good to be of service to the community, but I don't think that cheapening the services or cheapening the products because of whatever reason is necessary. It's just it's just not necessary. And there are so many conversations around, especially Black people, when we have businesses, and um, how our work should be free, right? Or how our work should be cheaper than whomever's, because our value is not the same as someone else, or a Eurocentric business model, whatever that looks like. And knowing that, it brings me back to, what is it that I'm doing? Why am I doing it? What, not only do I want to do this opportunity, but what will this opportunity provide for me? Is it a chance to learn? Is it the ability to do what I love? Are there networking opportunities? Things like that. What are some other ways? Just like we talk in career development all the time. And I don't know, for those of you who are out there, this is probably going to turn into a career development episode. um, but I was talking with a manager, and he expressed how there was a kid fresh out of college. And I say kids because you're like 21, 22 years old, fresh out of college, no work experience, but came into the branch as a teller and stated that he was going to be a manager in 2 to 3 months. Do you have experience? No. What do you have? I have a degree. Okay. Have you ever worked in customer service? No. But I know how to run a branch. Okay. 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 And I'm finding that these conversations are happening more and more in our leadership meetings. That there are so many people who come on entry level or whatever the case may be with little to no experience. And it's not that they're not given an opportunity to move up, but there are things that you have to, like rungs, you have to climb. There are certain um, um, goalposts you have to hit along the way. Like, you have to be able to go through those goalposts, because if you can't sell and you're not really good with people, you don't really know customer service, you don't know what it's like to manage a team or deal with difficult situations, then are you just going for the title of manager? Which was also another interesting thing that I'll talk about in a minute. But when you are a person, and if this is you, I don't mean to step on your toes, but I need you to understand, you cannot walk on as a manager in a functional business. There should be opportunity. Typically, I know nepotism exists. I understand that. I understand that nepotism exists. However, for you to be as prepared as you can for that role, you should be able to draw on strengths of experiences that you've had previously to effectively do your job. Now, whether you want to be the manager of a bank, or if you want to be a daycare teacher, or if you want to be the CEO of Tesla, whatever you want to do, you have to make sure that your skill set matches whatever role you're going for. Look at what a successful person in that role looks like. Then look at the managers who would be above you. So if you have a group of leaders that you don't care for, but that's the role that you're going for, you're going to be interacting with those people way more often than what you think. So it might be in your best interest to figure out where your skill set is, where your passions are, and go for that. There's not going to be a 0 to 60, not a lot of um, there's not a lot of roles in the workforce that you can just go, I learned how to do this thing, I'm ready to move up. There's always different types of tasks, different projects, different networking opportunities that you have to take advantage of in order to be ready to go to the next role. The person that I spoke about previously did not last in his role 6 months. It was about 3 months in, and he was essentially jumping to another opportunity because they were paying him more. And that is what we call puddle jumping for pennies. There's no reason for you to leave a job because they're paying you, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 more. Like, if it's 10,000, more, hey, go with God. Do what's going to be best for you. But onboarding a whole new program just because they're offering you 55,000 when you're already making 50,000, it's not going to be that much of a difference. Especially if you don't really know who management is and you have this entitled sense of, well, I'm just going to be making money. But let's talk about your skill set matching your passions, matching your role. So previously I was talking with someone who, and I was her mentor essentially. It wasn't a formal relationship, and this is a shout out to all the mentors out there. If you don't have a mentor, get you a mentor. If you have the space and capacity, be a mentor, because it's so important that people have connections with people who are in the roles that they want to be in, and people who have experience in the workforce, especially the way that the workforce is changing now, so they can move up and make those connections and actually get into a role that fits their skill set. Okay, that was my aside for mentorship. Now, I talk with people who want to be in management. I typically ask why. What is it about management? And they'll say, the hours, flexibility, but a lot of times it's not even about that. It just comes down to the dollar. It comes down to the money, it comes down to the power. There's not a lot. Yes, managers might make a little bit more, but there's so much more that falls on their shoulders. And most of managers, most managers are stuck in meetings all day long. One of the girls that I was able to, she's a woman, but one of the women I was able to mentor, um, it was very interesting watching her grow over 6 months, because when we first started, she was gung ho about wanting to be a manager. She wanted to be a manager, hands down, wanted to be a manager. And I'm just like, what about being a manager intrigues you? And I really don't remember all of what she said, because it really, honestly and truly came down to money. That's what it came down to. She said that I know my job, I know how to do my job very well. I should be a manager. Okay, here's the thing. When you're a manager, it's not just about knowing how to do your job, it's knowing how to do all the things that connect to your job. It's about being resourceful. It's about um, knowing how to manage complicated. Well, in my role, is it's knowing how to manage complicated situations when there are deadlines that are put in place arbitrarily, things like that. Knowing when to stand up and say something, push back really, knowing how to take feedback and criticism, things of that nature, and knowing how to push your team to grow, and especially knowing how to motivate people. One of the things, especially about being a people manager, is people don't think about how you have to deal with a team of people who don't like you or don't respect you. They come in late. They don't care about their job. The person who's been there for forever and a day, who knows how to do the job inside and out, but still doesn't contribute anything to the team because they just do barely enough to get by. You may have the fresh faced person where you have to go in and train or make sure that they're partnered up with somebody to train. You have to be able to step in to any of the given roles to be able to do their job. So if you're a teacher and you want to be a principal, you have to make sure that the students, the kids, the parents, everybody is at the same. The staff, everybody is where they need to be. If you're managing an apartment complex, you have to make sure as a manager that you're aware of all the fires that are going off at the same time, literally and figuratively, how to put those fires out, how to make sure that you have a cohesive team, or how people can work amicably, things like that. And a lot of people don't think about the people part of managing. And managing is not just a is not just about people, right? There are roles where you can be the manager of certain processes or the manager of certain services. And if that's the case, then you have less contact with people, but you still may have um, project-based assessments that occur on a regular basis. And that's when you really have to put your teamwork hat on and really dive in there and really understand how you can be effective as a team player, not just holding the title. And even if your title, if you've been listening to this for the last however long and you're like, yeah, but I don't really want to be a manager, I just kind of want to be better in my role. Well, figure out, talk with your leader, talk with your supervisor, talk with your manager, and make sure that you both are clear in understanding what does a successful person in this role look like. And leading with money, that's not going to get you very far. Because you could absolutely get paid top dollar, but if the work that you bring doesn't really have the value that they want, it's not going to matter. What you want to do is not make yourself irreplaceable, because then you're not going to be promoted anywhere. Oh, we can't have her leave because she does everything. Oh, I really want to promote you, but we don't really have anyone to replace you. So train all the people outside of your scope, train all the people to replace you. And then we'll look at next year if you can move up into a different role. But we really need you here because you're irreplaceable. Being that irreplaceable employee will absolutely make you unpromotable. And it'd be hard for you to leave to go anywhere else. What I try to do is make sure that I gather every role that I'm in. I make sure I open my toolkit and start collecting tools, things that I'm doing. How can I use the tools that I already have? How can I learn some new tools? Or what are some other things that I can learn from other people? Especially when I am networking and understanding that there's more than one side to whatever business that I'm doing. Whether you are selling coffee, whether you are a captain on a ship, whether you are, in retail sales, there's always going to be more than one side to whatever it is you're doing. I mean, and especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, absolutely you are going to have the conversations with everybody that has to do anything with your business. So whether you are talking to your social media manager, whether you are talking to your brand manager, whether you are talking to your event planner, and some people are just probably like, it's just me and me. All those people are me. And you have to be well aware of what's going on in your business. And if that's your mindset as an entrepreneur, that is a similar mindset that you have to have when you're working for someone else, especially if you want to better yourself. It's not just working hard to make sure that the company flourishes. It's working to make sure that you flourish as well in your role. Because what you want to do is make sure that you are marketable and you have skill sets that other people want to use. So you don't have to worry about getting, a process improvement certification. You don't have to worry about getting your Six Sigma or your green belt or, um, all these other certifications. Not yet, anyway, if you're entry level. But getting in the right rooms will allow you the benefit of having access to those courses, to those certifications, because it's nothing to have those certifications and not have the networking power to be able to utilize them. Because you can be sitting on a Six Sigma and not have anywhere to put it, not have anywhere to use it, because you haven't networked or applied or talked with anyone that could vouch for you and build your brand. And let's talk about brand building. Let's talk about brand building, because brand building is, I just went just way off, to just follow me here. Brand building is something that a lot of the companies are using now as it's I don't okay, I wouldn't say that it's a negative thing. Okay, don't get me wrong. Brand build is personal brand. I'm speaking strictly of personal brand, not the branding for and this sun is really getting it. Not the personal branding. I mean, not the personal branding, not the corporate branding, not the business branding, but your personal brand. You're They're making it seem as if you have to put on some personality or um, some type of character trait to be a certain individual, or to appear as an individual who would be seen as the poster child for your role. I think I said that right. I'm gonna go with it. Just go with me here. Um, Unfortunately, there have been situations where I've seen people who who are not in certain office politics, who have their branding attacked. And okay, no, let's not do that. Okay, let's talk about personal branding for a minute, because personal branding, it's important. It is. It really is. Don't get me wrong. Hear me what I'm saying. Personal branding, especially when you are building your repertoire and your networking, there is a reputation that goes before you. So if you're in whatever field, hospitality, finance, real estate, whatever industry you're in, typically it is a relatively small industry, especially if you specialize in it. And there's always about 6 degrees of separation. So your reputation will more than likely precede you. So you want to make sure that your reputation is solid. Not saying that you want to have a solid reputation, but you don't want to confuse your brand with a fake persona that you put on. Because some people talk about building your brand and how you always have to be on. It's more about building a solid reputation. So if you are a person that says, um, I am going to get these done by Tuesday, and it is Thursday at 5 o'clock and you still haven't gotten it done, that really takes a hit on your reputation, especially if somebody's asking, hey, have you ever worked with so and so? Yeah, they always get things back to me real late. Or they never answer their phone, or they're only available, at odd hours, or something in that nature. So you always want to um, under promise, over deliver. But okay, wait, yes sometimes and no, but you want to make sure that you want to give yourself enough time to get the work done, whatever it is. So um, if you need 4 hours to get a job done, um, or 3 days to do an art commission, give yourself a week so you have time in case anything happens. And then if you happen to deliver on that third day, oh wow, you this is really fast. Wow, this is amazing. They'll have better customer experience, better business experience, better interpersonal experience, because you're a person who keeps your word. And when you are not, don't volunteer for everything. That's that's one thing that I absolutely learned the hard way. When you are working on networking and getting to know people, building your reputation and creating your brand, you want to make sure that you are available to help people in different projects, but pick a project that is going to help you grow. It's called, they used to call it what, like personal enrichment or something like that. Um, and you want something that's going to help you grow, something that could be close to the field that you're in or the field that you want to be in. Especially if it comes to, oh, a team that I would like to be introduced to is working on this project. I want to work on it with them. That is a good idea of building your brand with those people, especially if you plan on applying in the next like 6 months to a year, because they'll say, hey, I did work on that project with those people, da da da, and they'll be able to remember you and say that, oh, you know what, I did. They showed up, they were on time, and they were ready to work. They asked the right amount of questions, things like that. So you want to make sure that as you are building your personal brand and as you are working on making sure that you are available, that you're flexible, that you're coachable. Don't be so flexible in that anything goes, but that you have parameters in place. Like, yes, I'm willing to be flexible to a point. So while you need to move my day from Tuesday to Thursday, understand on Thursday I'm only available at such time. That's what's been working for me. Some people just have no boundaries, and unfortunately, the people with no boundaries really get taken advantage of. And I would hope while people are working on building their reputation, they're working on their branding, that they do, shout out to the mentors, have mentors who are helping them so that they can get like an honest feedback of they can get honest feedback or input as to how they're seen, whether it's within the company, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the industry, wherever you are. And you have to be open to that feedback. As you're building a reputation, you have to know what other people are saying about you, not just the feel goods that they put online on Google or whatever next to your real estate name. You want to know what are people in the industry really saying about you, how do people feel about you, and take criticism and how you can get better. So if a person says, "Oh, I would not have done it by email, it would have been a phone call," that could be a preference. But if they said that when you're late, it's best to call to let them know that you're going to be late so they can anticipate the lateness. That is a criticism that can absolutely help you. So, being open to criticism, being flexible, being coachable. Being coachable is a big, 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 big one in any industry that you're in. Because if you're coachable and you're teachable, then people will more than likely want to work with you even more. There's so many bad habits that people pick up in different industries that when somebody's uncoachable, they have to like unlearn bad habits to learn good ones. It's a lot of times better to start off with a blank slate. And even if you do have experience in it, knowing how to be a blank slate, it just does the heart so good. It does the heart so good. Um, so as you are starting to develop in your career and as you are starting to move forward, figure out how your passion and skills can meet up to be in a role that would suit you. Not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur. And maybe you've tried it and it hasn't worked. Maybe you're frustrated because it hasn't taken off like someone else's, or maybe you're impatient with yourself. But I'm going to tell you now because a lot of people think that you should probably be an entrepreneur, and maybe you don't need to be. It's okay. It's okay if you're not an entrepreneur. It's okay if you don't own your own business. As long as you are happy and fulfilled in your life, enjoy it. Enjoy it. And should you want to be in a role where you can be successful, figure out what are you passionate about. What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is that one thing that happens that you're like, yeah, that's that stuff right there. That's good. What is something that you worked on recently that you are basically so proud of? That you're so like you can't wait to share with anyone else? Was it a post? Was it a response? Was it art, especially if you're a graphic designer? Was it a podcast episode? Was it a conversation that was just so amazing? Was it a calculation? Was it that you taught someone, how to play an instrument, ride a bike, or even, how to have those conflict mediation skills? There's so many things out there in so many different ways that we as people can solve all of the issues that we have. For every problem, there's probably like 15 people who have a solution that will actually work. So just figure out where your passions are and then what skill sets you're going to need to complete those passions. What do I need to do to achieve greatness in this area? How can I go forward in this area? Are there jobs like that? Those are the kinds of questions that you should ask yourself. And then regardless if you're working at Starbucks or working as a concierge, or if you are, I'm sorry, I'm looking at buildings right now, so that's where my brain is going as far as jobs, because I really didn't write down any industries, and I'm just coming up with these on the top of my head. Even if you're a movie company, like figure out where your skill set is. What are you really good at? What do you like to do? Cross those things like a Venn diagram right there in the middle, like a Venn diagram, and write down some things, some not the role name, but some things in the role that you would love to do, and then start looking for people who do those things. If you want to fly planes, do it. or a hot air balloon. That would be, there's still some of those out there. I am not terrified of heights, but heights are a thing. Mm-hmm. Even if you wanted to um, do a seminar, if you wanted to be a makeup guru, there are so many different things out there that you don't have to be tied down to just one thing or something that you don't like. Yes, money is always going to be an issue or something to consider. Um, but if you want to be in a field that you would hate less and maybe even love, figure out what it is that you love to do. Figure out where it is you can be and how you can serve. And when you are in a position of service, that's when you find peace at work. Most of the time. Most of the time. And I'm speaking from experience. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Um, I really, really appreciate you. I didn't think that this was going to turn into a career development episode, but if you'd like to hear more episodes like this, please make sure you subscribe and let me know at Take Up Space Pod. That's Take Up Space POD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just, send me a tweet, send me a message on Instagram, or put a comment on Facebook and let me know how you like this episode. Are there any other topics in career development that you want to talk about? There are many things that I have learned. Many things that I have learned about um, being in corporate America, working retail. Think like there's a lot, and there's so many. And the thing is that I like is that there's so much more for me to learn. I feel like I'm learning a lot with every interaction that I have with different people, whether they are difficult or easy to work with. It just makes it such a dynamic. Such a dynamic work environment where I'm able to learn so much and deal with it. So, my, I think that I'm going to take my mother's advice and really learn how not to cheapen myself and really put into practice, my worth and just put my worth in my work and let it speak for itself. Really show my value so that it's not a question of who, how, and when, but, how much you want for it. Thank you again so much. Please make sure that you tune in next week and make sure you follow us at Take Up Space Pod. That's Take Up Space POD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. I almost forgot to mention this year we are hitting 1,000. Thank you so much to the new subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate you all. We are going for 1,000 this year, and I am going to stay consistent, which I have been. So I really appreciate you all. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.